Welcome into episode 170 of The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. I'm Ken Ray.
And I'm August Trometer.
LifeHacker has a complete guide to avoiding online scams. We'll put that through its paces. And when home security goes away from home, settle in, friends, for another edition of The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. Well, I guess this may be the last show we ever do. I'm kind of bummed.
Oh, no.
Well, it's your fault. I mean, it's because of you. August Trometer sent me a LifeHacker list the other day under the headline, The Complete Guide to Avoiding Online Scams. I'm thinking he's done talking about it. I'm thinking really what it is. I'm thinking it was a not so subtle way to say, don't you get it yet, Ken?
It's not you, it's me.
Oh, okay. If you've been a listener to the checklist for any length of time, a lot of the stuff on this list is going to sound very familiar. Some of it will seem like common sense, but there were a couple of points on here that surprised me in their specificity. So let us hit this LifeHacker complete guide to avoiding online scams. We'll start at the top. Never, ever click a link to your bank or financial institution from an email.
Yes. But before we get to that, I'm going to point out this isn't our last show.
Well, no, of course not. Yeah, I think people would know that because we wouldn't be able to, giggles and chuckles and all that stuff. Like, well, I guess we're done. Yeah, no. Expect crying in an orchestra for our last show.
And the sad trombone.
Exactly.
I'd go so far as to say don't click any link in any email unless it's from somebody love, and trust. The junk that comes from spammers and hackers is unreliable, and it's designed to fool you. Those links lead to sites which collect all of your personal information or cause you to download malware. So just don't do it. And those links are even more dangerous if the email looks like it comes from your bank or financial institution, simply because that's your money and the bad guys are trying to take it from you. Many times these are password reset links. If you didn't request a password reset, delete that email immediately and let your service provider, whatever company that comes from, know. And that goes for text messages as well, which, is becoming more and more common. Some people suggest that you check the address bar in the browser and make sure the link is encrypted. Here, we recommend you never click those links and instead just type the domain into the address bar yourself and then log in. If there are alerts or messages or anything like that, they'll be available to you then.
Let me, if I could really quickly go back to something you said at the beginning. Don't click a link unless it's from somebody you know, love, and trust. I mean, I would even at that point maybe give them a call because there's one person in particular who about every 6 months I get an email from her and it's got some link in it. And it's because I don't know if it is that somebody has I don't know how it happens, but basically every 6 months I'm getting a scam email from this person. And I know it's not something that she's sending. She's clicked on something. She's got something that's sending out these fake links. And it's obviously trying to get me to, click on it so it can gather what information it does. So I say, even if you love or trust the person, what's the old thing that Reagan used to say, that the Russian parable, trust but verify. Unless it's something you're expecting. Agreed?
Yes, I totally agree. And I like the phrase, trust in God, but lock your car.
Yeah. In God we trust, all others pay cash. Things like that, sure. You don't want to do the Russian thing, August? I don't understand. The next point on LifeHacker's list, don't give out your passwords.
You should never give out your password. If you get a phone call or email or text message, or even If you're on support chat and they ask you for your password, don't give it out. In fact, don't give your password to your kids either. If you get a request for a password, just walk away. And that goes for your Netflix and Hulu and all of those things that you might be sharing with 20 other people. Just don't give out your password.
See, I was actually going to ask about the Netflix one. I mean, and obviously that's not something you should do anyway, because I know you might think of it as sharing. Netflix might think of it as stealing. But the thing that I'm thinking about is, you know, if I'm still using 1234 my dog's name as my password for Netflix, chances are maybe I'm using that same thing on something else too. I mean, is that a reason to not share? Is the just not stealing a reason to not share? What's the reason for not sharing something like a Hulu or a Netflix?
I'm going to avoid the ethical and moral implications.
Okay.
And I'm just going to stick to the technology. But absolutely, I mean, you know, when you give your password out to somebody, now all of a sudden they have a piece of information about you that you may or may not want them to have.
So if you really want to share your Netflix with somebody, just give them $5. Exactly. Like, there, you're halfway now, or you're a third of the way now to your Netflix subscription. Along a similar line, the next thing on the LifeHacker thing is use strong passwords. See, that's an excellent reason to not share a Netflix password. If you got the 16 digits with the hyphens and the whatever, I mean, obviously you're not going to be able to share that with a friend. But the using strong passwords, I mean, we've done this and done this and done this, but what do you say we do it again?
First of all, have we mentioned password managers here before?
I think a time or two. Yeah. I'll have to go back and check which episodes we haven't mentioned password managers in, actually.
My suggestion is use one. Your life will be easier for it. Your personal data will be so much better protected. So use one. And we've talked a lot about strong, unique passwords, and I don't want to keep banging that drum, but use strong, unique passwords. And by unique to every website. And that's a great use case for password managers. Use two-factor authentication, of course, wherever possible. If the service you use doesn't have it, bug them until they do. Call their support line, email them, get them to add that. And many sites ask security questions like your favorite color or your mother's maiden name. The problem is that those things can be discovered by hackers just by digging into your past. So I recommend you use fake answers that aren't in your past. For your mother's maiden name, for example, use the first name of your favorite president. It's a lot harder to hack the questions when the answers aren't true. That said, if it's a bank or financial institution, you may want to share those answers with your spouse in case of a hit by a bus scenario, which no one likes to think about, but sometimes you have to.
Up next on the LifeHacker list, don't buy anything from a random email you get.
Oh, randos, yes. Right now, and I'm not kidding, I have over 500 emails waiting to be read, and most of them are junk. The junk is mostly trying to sell me something from fake Rolexes to fake male enhancement drugs. But on the bright side, I just happen to be the one guy in the United States who can help a Nigerian prince. So,
nice. Boy, I hope he wrote to you with greetings of the day.
He did.
Yeah.
Bottom line, ignore all of these, but you probably already do that. The thing is, some of these emails look really legit, and they look like they're from Amazon or your bank. And as we mentioned earlier, just don't click that link. Type the real URL into your browser. Messages will be there for you. And if it's something like Amazon, log in and then search for a particular product to see the real price.
Now, I said earlier that a lot of this would sound familiar. I mean, the password stuff, not clicking on, links, especially from people you don't know. And sometimes don't click on links from people you do. I also said that some of it would sound like common sense. Don't give out your password. The next one, though, caught my attention. Watch out for job postings that look too good to be true. Tell us more about this one.
Well, first of all, if it's too good to be true, then it's not true. But we can all use extra cash from time to time, and job hunting is a legitimate way to get there. One huge red flag is a job that wants to do a wire transfer, MoneyGram, money order, or anything that's not a common way to pay an employee. Some even ask you to deposit money in order for them to be able to send you money. And this is where your noodle comes into play. Think about the scenario. Why are they being so generous? Doesn't it seem weird? And if it's weird, then something fishy is probably going on.
Okay, so this goes back to common sense stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I honestly thought it was going to be a phishing scam. Like, oh, here's this great job. You would be perfect for it. Just give us all this information and we'll run whatever check. And maybe they're not even real.
It can be. But, a lot of times these job postings are on real job sites. And when you apply, they respond and they will ask you to deposit money into their account so that they can send you more money. And of course, they keep the money that you deposit into their account.
Well, that's okay because they're sending you more. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. Actually, well, whatever. Yeah, we'll talk off mic. I know somebody who didn't fall for that exactly, but man, went for something else. And I don't understand. Like anybody who's like, no, seriously, just spend one more $1,000 and this is really going to pay off. Dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like those real estate courses or the whole, become rich in 10 minutes thing. But first, spend $1,500 on my books.
Right. Yeah, becoming rich in 10 minutes actually goes back to the being hit by a bus thing. You just have to make sure you do it. I don't want to say right. Let's move on. Because we got to get back to some incredibly obvious stuff. Do not give out your personal information or your social security number. This actually kind of could tie into this job thing. I mean, I would guess a lot of this is about spinning a good yarn, right? It's probably not the first email that's going to get you to give away all of your information, or even the first contact that's going to get you to give away all of your information. But somebody can tell you a good story. If somebody can give you a good pitch, 2-3 contacts in, well, I know who this is. I trust this person. I've been talking to him for days. I'll just give them this bit of information and, we'll grease these wheels.
It's all about social engineering.
Yeah,
at that point.
Largely, yeah.
They throw the bait out there, and if they feel like you're a big fish and they hook you, then they're going to keep talking to you to get that information. But one thing to keep in mind is no online retailer ever asks for your social security number. If you're signing up with a bank or getting a loan, sure. But the Gap isn't going to ask that question. In addition, if you have an account with, let's say Chase Bank, and you click link where they ask you to re-enter your social security number, you can probably be sure that that's a fake website. Sometimes these fake sites will even ask for other personal information. Don't give it out. Go to the real site, log in, and see what they need.
Next on LifeHacker's big list, take advantage of your browser security features. Now, are we talking about things like privacy mode or incognito mode, stuff like that, or is this something else?
Well, it's not incognito as much as it is the security features. You can always check to see if a site is encrypted just by looking at the address bar. You should be able to click the lock icon and see all about the encryption certificate, which includes information about the owner, whether it's valid, who issued it, and where it was issued from. Browsers can also protect you from downloading malicious files or visiting blacklisted sites or just plain ignoring pop-ups.
Let me ask you a question about the encryption certificate really quickly, because I was doing business for years, actually, with an organization. Every couple of years, their encryption certificate would expire because it was just the kind of business they were. But the thing is, I would like click that for more information, and it would just basically say, yeah, the certificate has expired. I don't know what I'm looking for is the problem. Do you see what I'm saying? Like if I go to something that is supposed to be Amazon, let's say I'm less than sensible about this, and I click on that link that's supposed to be Amazon, and I go something that looks pretty much like Amazon, but it's got that encryption certificate, expiration or I don't know what I'm looking for when I see that. Basically, when I see that, I think, okay, well, something is obviously wrong. I don't know what's wrong at that point.
Well, one of the things to look for is to make sure the certificate lists the domain that you're actually trying to visit.
Okay.
So if you go to Amazon.com and you click the link, it should mention Amazon.com, not,
Jamazon
dash, not Jamazon.
Right.
.com. To me, that's the most important piece of information, is to make sure that the certificate belongs to the site that you're visiting.
Okay. But then, okay, so take me like 10 feet further. Because I'm thinking about this one thing in particular, this organization with which I used to work. This would seriously happen every couple of years, and I would just know that their web guy missed something here.
Yeah, dropped a ball.
Yeah. Is there danger to me at that point, or is the danger on their side, or is it just the kind of thing where I need to call them and be like, hey, it's been a couple of years, or however long it's been, it's time to do that thing again?
If you didn't click a link in a random email, then you're probably safe. But I still wouldn't trust it. Generally what happens is these certificates they have an expiration date, and the company has to renew the certificate, and it costs money. And so, and no one puts that on their calendar. Actually, I don't want to say no one, but there's a lot of companies that don't put it on their calendar. Mm-hmm. And they don't respond to emails saying your certificate's about to expire. And so it's probably just a slip up on their part more than anything else. But I would never give personal information over that site at that point in time until they actually have a real certificate.
Then next to the last bit of advice, ignore website pop-ups that say you have a virus.
Well, I say ignore all pop-ups. The first thing I do when I get a new computer is turn off pop-ups in my browser settings. Second of all, get an ad blocker, and for heaven's sakes, just don't click any pop-ups. I don't care if the pop-up says someone in your family is dying, don't click it, and then pick up the phone and let somebody know. All that your PC is infected garbage, total scam. In general, too, I recommend a malware scanner, just in case you mess up and do download something you shouldn't. Do we know any good malware scanners? I'm not sure.
I'm gonna check my notes. I might be able to mention one in a minute.
And of course, we've mentioned VPNs here before, and I always suggest that you use those because they help anonymize you and your information.
And the last bit of advice is one that we've given out here countless times. LifeHacker says, share this information.
I think I said on last week's show, if you can change the habits of just one person, it really is a win for all of us. So share these tips, share this podcast. Just don't share your password.
Home security and insecurity. We'll talk about that in a moment. But first, a word about MacScan 3 from SecureMac. We were just talking about it a minute ago. Sometimes some of us do dumb things. We lock our keys in our car. We lose something that we need. We get tricked into clicking on something that we shouldn't click on, maybe in an email or on a website, and it ends up being bad. Maybe you picked up something bad, tracking cookies or malware maybe. Well, you can find out and you can get rid of it with MacScan 3. MacScan 3 is a great defense against malicious software attacks aimed at your Mac. It's developed by SecureMac, trusted names in computer security and developers of exceptional security software for the Mac for over 20 years. MacScan 3 detects and removes Mac malware, catches keyloggers, removes tracking cookies, and provides full range or targeted scanning, all without crowding up your hard drive or slowing down your computer. Keep your machine clean with MacScan 3 from SecureMac. Sign up for a free 30-day trial today at securemac.com/MacScan. That's MacScan 3 by SecureMac. Your 30-day free trial is waiting at securemac.com/MacScan. How do you choose a security company? Maybe go for one that pretty much only does security. To be clear, we're talking here about physical security, home security. A lot of people are about to find out that their home security, well, it's gone missing. Engadget says Spectrum, the charter-owned cable company, is getting out of the home security game pretty quick. The 5th of February, the company will stop supporting Spectrum Home. When it does, the piece says the system will largely be useless. Individual devices should work, but the core monitoring service and remote device access, the main reason a lot of people signed up, that's just not going to work anymore. Now, if you're wondering what equipment we're talking about, the Spectrum site says the basic equipment in every package includes one touchscreen, 2 wireless door and window sensors, 1 wireless motion sensor, and a yard sign and window decals. Now, I'm thinking you're going to want to get rid of those first. The sign and the decal, or the decal, however you say it, because, that's just a big sign that nobody's watching the fort.
Well, sooner or later, sure. But in general, stickers like that are meant as a deterrent. And not a lot of crooks will know about this for a while. So there's still a deterrent to your local ruffian. So I would actually keep them while you're looking for a new service provider.
Really? Because here's the thing, Spectrum is going to be your cable company for whatever town because of, whatever monopolies are going on.
Sure.
So if you have cable and you're watching the cable, even if you don't have Spectrum, you've probably watched some, message from Spectrum saying, don't forget, this is going away soon. I would think that would just be a target to bad guys who have a lot of time to sit around and watch cable.
So do you think that guys who really don't have the mental capacity to go out there and get a job are actually going to pay attention to an ad from Spectrum?
Honestly, yeah, I don't know. Well, whatever. That's another thing for another thing. We can debate that some other time if you want to.
All I'm saying is, you need to replace your service. Absolutely. But don't take those down right away until you've got something that has replaced it.
All right. Now, as far as where these people go, Spectrum is said to be offering promotional deals from Abode or Ring, minus service subscriptions, as compensation. I'm not familiar with Abode, but as for Ring, we've talked about a lot of misgivings around Ring. Last week, we actually heard about a new one. Well, I heard about a new one, which I'm going to share with everybody now. A piece from Ars Technica had Amazon admitting in a letter to Congress to 4 incidents in the past 4 years where employees accessed video data that they weren't supposed to. Each of these individuals involved in these incidents was authorized to view video data, Amazon said in a letter, but in all cases, the attempted access to that data exceeded what was necessary for their job functions. Boy, people, huh? It's just, you get 2 of them together. You might not think about it. Although with Ring, I don't see how you can't, just because there's been so much weird stuff around Ring. But when you're thinking security, when you're, opting for a service that'll let you view your cameras when you're not there, of course, other people can do that as well.
Yeah, anytime your data is stored in the cloud, it's accessible to employees of the company hosting the data. Remember when Uber was tracking people because all of that information was going to the cloud? It's a risk we take when we sign up for a service like that. That doesn't mean the service doesn't have a responsibility, because they do. But it does show that people are fallible and they will fail.
Didn't Apple have a solution for this? Or hasn't Apple announced a solution for this as far as people being able to monitor your cameras and things?
Yeah, they have HomeKit, which is supposedly more secure and has a few more features than you see with some of these other outfits. But we haven't seen certain products that connect to HomeKit, like a doorbell or a thermostat, which connect to HomeKit. I'd like to see a greater uptake of products with HomeKit, but I suspect that the requirements are probably just too hard for many companies.
Now, I'm not sure what Amazon's play is on Ring, unless it's just to make, all the money possible. Maybe to keep people from stealing packages that Amazon is leaving on porches across the country. I don't know. Charter, which owns Spectrum, indicates that it didn't even want to be in the home security business in the first place, but was simply dealing with a business that it inherited as part of an acquisition involving Time Warner Cable and Bright House back in 2016. Engadget argues the Spectrum shutdown makes a case for transitioning to dedicated home security devices and services. While those aren't immune to shutdowns, they're less prone, and the equipment is more likely to be useful if the service ever stops.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got one of these conglomerates, they look at their stock and they go, this little division isn't profitable, so they just lop it off. For Amazon, I suspect it's all about delivery and porch pirates. They already have Amazon Key, which works with the Ring. So the delivery guy shows up, the door unlocks, and it lets him drop packages off inside the home. And of course, Amazon wants all the money.
Well, that too. Yeah, but they'll be there to pick it up within 2 hours if you order right now. Hey, if you're looking for more security news and how-tos, the place to look is SecureMac.com/checklist. There you'll find notes for this show, for the last show we did, for the shows that are coming up. Yeah, basically, if we've done a show, there will be notes, and those notes will be at SecureMac.com/checklist. Oh, and you can listen to every show there as well. SecureMac.com/checklist. If you have a question you would like to ask or a topic you would like to hear us hit, our email address is checklist@securemac.com. That address again is checklist@securemac.com. And if you can't remember that, please do remember this. You're listening to The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. And we'll talk to you next week.